And we're live. I will
Hello.
check the sound.
Awesome.
Hello, how's it going?
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. I was
So
just
we
looking.
are just getting set up. Today we're going to be talking about the return of diseases. I think Ruby listened to a lot of podcasts about measles.
I did. I was
Uh-huh.
doing surgeries yesterday, and I was like listening to the influenza of 1812, and uh, sorry, 1918, and then I was like, this is really depressing. Let me find something
Uh-huh.
lighter, and so then I went to measles, which I'm going to argue is actually a little bit lighter. But anyway, for those of you joining us for the first time, we are Philosophising. My name is Ruby. That's Nathan.
Yep, I'm Nathan.
And we philosophize about science. And yeah, today, infectious diseases that were historical and some that are, I guess, not so
Still
historical anymore.
happening. Yeah. So I think the title we called Return of Infectious Diseases, and then Ruby was like, okay, but I mean they've really already always been there. Like they're not really returning. But I think one of the reasons that I picked that title is because there are some things that are returning. Um like one of which is like, so we're currently in the midst of, I think, the largest measles epidemic in the US for, I don't know, a while. Um,
I actually have numbers for this.
yes,
This is great because I was like on a measles
it's
search. Okay.
returning, is my
It
point.
is returning. So okay,
Uh-huh.
so if you remember, like in 2014, like this is for us, is like around the end of college. It was like this huge news article about like the Disney outbreak of measles, and that was when one child went to Disneyland and basically followed 125 people got measles, and 45% of them were like unvaxxed people, and they're like, oh my gosh, biggest outbreak ever. Okay, for context, that was 125 people. As of March 28th, which is like 3 days ago, there was 422 cases just in West Texas, and like 40 hospitalizations. One person died, and um, like only two of those patients that were hospitalized were fully vaccinated. So the rest, the 325, were unvaccinated. And then I actually just checked those numbers again right before the stream, and that numbers are now at 483 cases in the US, and 97% of those were unvaccinated. And we were like, oh my god, it's coming back.
I
This
guess,
is really high for the states, and it's so sad. Like, it's a completely preventable disease, you know?
yeah. What is this epidemic like looking like now? Like, is it still growing? Is it declining?
I mean, between the 28th and today's the 2nd of April, or sorry, today's the 3rd of April, sorry. Um we bumped up like 50 cases.
Mhm.
And that actually has to do with like how contagious the disease is. So like in like public health, or in like just like the science of infectious diseases, we categorize diseases, infectious diseases, with like R naughts. And
Mhm.
so the R naught for measles is somewhere between 12 and 18. So that means like for every infected person, they are approximately going to infect 12 to 18 other people.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really high. It's basically like the highest that we know of, like communicable disease. And like to compare that, chickenpox is slightly less infectious, and that's already like the pox parties, right? Like that's around the
Mhm.
10 to 12 R naughts. Polio is also around 10 to 12 there. Things like HIV is about 2 to 5.
Mhm.
SARS was like point two, like one, somewhere between point two and
The
one.
original SARS,
Yeah,
yeah.
the original SARS. And then the common cold is 2 to 3. Ebola is like 1.5 to like 2. And COVID, like COVID-19, is like 1.5 to 2 to 2.5. So like measles is 12 to 18. Like it is
Mhm.
very high. I think, I forget, we were watching Contagion at some point when we were talking,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
I forget what that fictional disease had. It was something high because it was airborne.
I
Oh,
think it's
also,
I think it's like four or five.
yeah. So
Mhm.
like what makes it so contagious is, okay, so you remember during COVID at the beginning we were like, oh my
Mhm.
god, we don't know if it's airborne, if it's just droplets, or if it was just like fomites, right? And we're
Mhm.
like, in the order of horribleness was like airborne, which is like it just lingers in the air. It's kind of like if you fart and you can smell it, and then like how long that fart lasts in that air,
Mhm.
that's how long that particles can just stay aerosolized, just hanging out, and you can walk into the room, you can get it, and it's just like live virus ready to roll and infect your lung juices, and you're good, you go. Droplets is like actual like large droplets need to spray, and then like fomites are like you gotta like touch it like off the surface, and then like actually like put it on one of your mucous membranes. So we were like, measles is airborne. It's the worst kind.
Mhm.
It's super infectious, and that's why like whenever they know like someone is like diagnosed with it, they were like, hey, at this airport between these hours, like if you were in that space, you have been exposed, like 100%.
Mhm.
They fly now. Yeah. Yeah, they
Yep.
airborne. They fly.
They're just like you're probably exposed.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
because it's so infectious, like it's hard to eradicate because you need really high like like real high vaccination rates. Like you need
Actually, yeah.
like to fully stop like halt transmission, you need like way above like 95% I think is like the goal to be like barely transmitting. And we were there.
Mhm.
Like the Americas was there. Like we were there since the 2000s. And like we literally like got a stamp from the WHO being like, you guys have got rid of measles. Like congratulations. Um that's so cool. Like that is a
Yeah.
human feat, and it's
Right.
all.
It's very much like a technological triumph, I think. Like
Yeah.
that.
Like we had to
Um,
coordinate like every school. We had to like jab a bunch of kids. We needed like a cold chain. So the MMR vaccine, which is the sorry, let's do like a quick like recap of what measles is. Measles is a virus. It's usually caused by one of two different virus strains called morbillivirus, also called rubiola, and the other one, sorry, rubella and rubella virus. So that one's also called German measles, and they're both targeted by the MMR vaccine, which is mumps, measles, and rubella. It's super aggressive. It causes an inflammatory illness and includes symptoms like horrible fevers of like 104 degrees. You get a bucket paint rash, which is kind of like red from like if you like dumped some paint on your head and it's like your head is red first and then like your shoulders and then chest, and then you get these characteristic copula sores like in your mouth, and that's actually like basically if you see those sores, doctors would be like, you got the measles.
you definitely have
um
measles.
yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely have measles. It's like it only shows up, that's like a really specific symptom you get from measles. And also immune suppression, which we actually learned a lot about more recently, the immune suppression, which I didn't know about actually. I knew like it was like, if you're sick, you're more likely to get sick from other things because your immune system is down. But measles, in addition to just making you immune suppressed temporarily, it like wipes your immune memory. Like it
Hmm.
hits your B cells, and like the cells that remember all the diseases that you've already fought in the past and now are immune to, it just like forgets it all. Like you have immune amnesia, so you're starting from scratch. So basically now if you get hit with any of the, you know, any common cold, every air infection, every like random Joe pathogen that you already fought off as a child is all gone. It's just wiped and you got to start from scratch
Yeah.
again.
So I was
Uh,
actually I was reading about this, and so it's called immune amnesia, and I think this was actually in the context I was reading some posts by people where they were talking about how it's actually they were claiming that it's good for the immune system to get infected by measles, which is hilarious because this is pretty much the only virus that actually does this. Like it's the exact opposite actually. And so I was looking this up, and it turns out that this immune amnesia effect, it's actually thought that before measles was eradicated in the United States, this measles induced immune amnesia specifically um, was like a major cause. Like it contributed to maybe about a fifth of all the childhood deaths from infectious diseases. So these weren't just deaths from measles, it was measles made people more vulnerable to all these other things.
Yeah, and I think it like also wipes. So if you get it like too early, it'll wipe the memory of all the things that your
Hmm.
mother gave you.
Yeah.
Like, cause so
Yep.
like
Hmm.
once you're recently birthed, like you still have some protections from like what your parents gave you, like or your mother gave you specifically. Like you have like a little bit of immune response, and that's why you can't vaccinate a baby like the moment it's born. Like you have to like give it some time
Right.
and then like lose that protection and then they could be vaccinated. Like a little bit later. I think the youngest people vaccinate babies for with MMR is like 6 months. Like I think it's
Hmm.
usually for older, and that's one of the reasons. Like basically, you've lost the protection. It's time to build your own. Um, and and so like it'll wipe that. So if you get measles, it'll wipe all the help that your parents gave you, and
Hmm.
then now you're really vulnerable. And yeah, and people aren't dying from like I mean, some people are dying directly from measles itself, but a lot of it is the secondary complications, right? So I think I have numbers
Hmm.
for how common the secondary. Oh yeah, so 5 to 15% of people who get measles get it like comorbid with like a secondary complication. So these things are the things that actually will kill you, like pneumonia and like whatever other infection that your body cannot fight off because it is now you're like basically a bubble baby um because of it.
Hmm. And
Yeah, it's not great.
it is apparently it's a temporary immune suppression. So your immune system does recover after you've had measles, but it takes a while. It takes like a year. So that um it's not a good thing to have.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that you mentioned this California outbreak, because one of the interesting things that actually happened after that was that directly because of that, actually California became a lot stricter on requiring vaccinations in schools. So they actually like because of that outbreak, they removed a lot of the non-medical exemptions from vaccination, specifically because they're like, wow, this is a problem. And it seems like that is not necessarily the response that we're seeing now.
Yeah. I was
Um,
like, that's what a responsible way to do it, government. Let's do
yeah.
that. um Yeah, I think it's actually bad PR, actually. I think being scared of vaccines is a really normal response. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. Why do I need to get stabbed? Do you know what I mean? Like, I just thinking about like the yearly flu one. It's like, oh, I don't got time for to do it. Like, I'm busy. Like, and I was like, well, no, just like the regular flu. Like, getting the real flu is way worse than getting jabbed and
Uh-huh.
like a mild fever for like an evening. Getting COVID is way worse than getting a mild fever for a day. Just plan it. Like get your vaccines on a Friday and then
Yeah.
like be a veg on Saturday. Like just like you have time.
Right.
You don't have time to be sick for 2 weeks out.
Yeah, I
uh,
do think it's interesting that people are very willing to buy into these things where they'll be like, take this supplement, it strengthens your immune system naturally. And like that is actually what vaccines do. Like when you think of it, like it's very strange to me that like the natural health, naturopathic people are like not in favor of vaccines like wholeheartedly, given that like they work by they work by literally strengthening your natural ability to fight off diseases.
they have
But
perfected the PR, and I feel
yeah.
like scientists have epically failed at giving vaccines good PR because I
Mhm.
think it just sounded boring, right? Like it doesn't sound sexy. Like we have to sell it like imagine you have this silver bullet where if you take it, you'll never get this disease. Like
Mhm.
for sure. Like everyone would take it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we need to
Yeah.
like lavender oil. Like we gotta make it the equivalent like something cool and coveted. And like part of it is maybe is because we gave it for free.
Yeah,
Like
it
I
could
don't know.
be. Yeah.
Like maybe we need to be like, you need to get like you get a stamp or something. Like I don't know like how to make it like an exciting thing. It's like congratulations, you have
Yeah. Although I will say, so like I did like a lot of science communication work during the COVID pandemic, and this is kind of actually one of the big things that people lost trust about was that when the COVID vaccines came out, there was clinical data that showed that they were very, very like 95% effective at preventing infection, and that was advertised very widely. And then like and then when people started having waning immunity from the vaccine, and there were a lot of people who had been vaccinated once being infected, I think that actually really hurt people's trust. And I think that's kind of the part of the conundrum is that it's like arguably it was kind of irresponsible to market the vaccines the way they were, and that kind of like you can say like, oh, maybe they should have given people like talked about kind of the fact that like the virus could continue to evolve and like this might not always work.
No,
And
I agree. I think that
um
is one of the reasons why people suck at taking the flu vaccine too. It's
right.
because we have to kind of guess which strains the
Hmm.
cool virologists and people that make vaccines have to like look at data from like the past year and like look at what strains are around, and they kind of just guess because you can only mix so many so many vaccines into one shot, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go with those three. I think those are our best guesses for this region, and then that they roll out that vaccine, right? Sometimes they get it wrong, but a lot of times they do get it right. On the times that they
Hmm.
didn't get it wrong, people will still get the flu, but sometimes they get it right. And then like a lot of people didn't get flus, and then it's hard to like appreciate something that you didn't get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I didn't get the flu this year. Like you don't count your losses when it's
Right.
like when it's negative. You just count the times where you know had to take off work because you're really sick, and then that was really horrible, right? And so it's like a bias towards the bads. It's like a statistic. What's that statistical error where
Survivorship bias.
yeah, it's kind of like when they
Yeah.
were like studying the planes that came back, and they're like, "Oh, these
Hmm.
planes that have holes in the wings, they survived. Like, we should we should have better wings." And they're like, "Well, no, actually, all the ones that came back from the war that
Yeah.
it's because they didn't get shot in the engine."
Right. They're like, oh, all these planes sure are getting shot in the wings a lot, so I guess we should armor the wings. And
Yeah,
then, yeah. And I think
it's like
there's
that, right?
also this thing that comes up called the prevention paradox, which is essentially there's all these things where people will be like, wow, why did you spend so much money trying to like um like contain this disease that ended up not being a big deal. Of course, it ends up not being a big deal because you do that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
And
we are suffering from success. Like we are
yeah,
so
exactly.
good. We
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have
But
pandemics every year and outbreaks all the time.
yeah. But I will say, like, other than the suffering from success part, I do think there's this interesting, like, just like, and it is fed by misinformation. But I think it's like when you talk to people, so I think one of the things that I was reading about, which is talking about the political situation, is like there's really been a very big backlash against just like public health and even infectious disease research in general. So like the parts of the NIH that do infectious disease research are getting targeted a lot, for example. And when you look at this, it seems like a big part of it is that people really feel like during the COVID pandemic that they were deceived. And really they bring up two things. One is they feel like they were told that the vaccines would work better than they do, and they were told that they would only need to take like precautionary measures for like 2 weeks to like end the COVID pandemic. And I think that the second one especially, like that's just like something that Trump said. Like no one seriously thought that was actually like how it worked. But like but because it was said is the frustrating part that um
Yeah, like they said things to calm people down without
mhm.
actual like evidence that we could do it, right? It's
Yeah.
it's this weird line that weird. It's a hard line. We always have to be like, we want to be communicate information, but we also don't want to freak people out and scare them. It's like this, like we have to give correct information, not freak people out, but also sometimes in like I think to be really accurate, we're really careful not to draw overly draw conclusions. Like that's a thing that we train to do, and then that sounds to the regular public non-scientist audience like we're not sure.
Hmm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? It makes
Uh-huh.
it sound like we don't know what we're talking about. It's more like it's biology and it's never 100%. And so when we're like it's most likely this, for them they're like it is or isn't, and I was like, well, it's most likely not. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no
Yeah. Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
see it in a better way. So and and that's why we need more scientists in other fields besides actually just doing science. We need them to like
Exactly. Yeah.
interpret it and carefully, and it's really case by case, and like what do they actually mean by it. um yeah, it's a hard craft, and we're not trained to do it, right? We're not trained to do media, like we're not trained to talk to the public.
Hmm.
um
But I
yeah.
do think, I mean, I guess I do wonder, like, I think the thing that I'm really struck by is like, okay, people, like, you have this, people are very skeptical of public health because we had people like Trump and Cuomo saying, like, oh, this will be over in 2 weeks. And I think, like, honestly, like, if the scientists were the ones talking to the public, I think, honestly, they would have done a better job. Like,
Yeah.
I like I honestly think that if they got someone from the CDC up there to and explained like what the effective R number is, kind of people would actually not have this knee-jerk reaction as much.
Yeah. On the other hand, in the past, a government official has also said something similar. So, in the context of measles, for example,
Mhm,
they're like, wow, we have this vaccine. We're going to eradicate it. And, like, literally within 3 years in the United States, it was almost eradicated. It's wild. Like, people
mhm,
have done that in the past. Like,
mhm,
people have been like, there has been a president that was like, hey, we're going to the moon. Right? Like
mhm.
literally a moonshot, and then suddenly we were actually on the moon. Like in we have ambitiously said things, and then we have gotten there in the past.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so like you don't want them to like not dream. Do you know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
need
exactly. Yeah,
you need the dreamers, and then you need like some scientists being like, Here's the actual numbers."
yeah. I
And
guess
I was like,
I guess my problem, like I guess my like the thing that I was saying is like not that we shouldn't have had like an aggressive approach to things. I think my biggest problem was just like that you had people who clearly had no idea what they were talking about. And like I think honestly like you if you took a regular scientist and you just like you put them up where like Cuomo or Trump was, and you just had them say like, "Hey, look, this virus infects like this virus infects like each person infects 4 people. If 2 of those people are wearing masks, they're probably not going to get infected. And then if we vaccinate one person, then not everyone is protected, but the virus starts to die out." And I feel like scientists, if they actually like if the people up on the stage were scientists, they would
they would
give
say that. Yeah.
yeah,
I
they
would have
would,
loved
and
that.
I
Yeah.
think people would pay attention. Like we were all actually really paying attention to what these people are saying, which is why we remember these things where people said like, "Oh, it'll take 2 weeks to stop the spread."
Yeah, like we were clinging on to information, right? Like I remember
Mhm.
when someone came in and talked about all the different kinds of like RNA viruses, and I was like, you know what? I'm like stuck at home.
It's
Like,
just like
let me learn this,
this
right?
is very relevant.
Yeah, this is super relevant. Might as well like do a little delve in virology, um, and like what a lost moment for for us. We should have done it
Yeah,
more.
and I
Um,
that does also get into the kind of the point that you were making about it's like, okay, we can do really ambitious things, and I think actually one of the things that we've learned in the past couple of years is actually I think we have even developed our ability, like that technical ability, like so much to stop an outbreak. I
like
think
okay. it's like if we could have done this before there was internet, like now that we have internet, we really should be able to do it better and faster
Uh-huh.
and like more
Exactly.
efficiently,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I'm thinking about like diseases that we've like really eradicated. Um, so for example, like this is not even infectious disease, these are like nutritional diseases. So like before we figured like immediately after we figured out like how important vitamins were, we were like, oh, hey, a lot of our population have like these diseases like rickets and beriberi, and those are literally like vitamin D deficiency, vitamin B1 deficiency, like pellagra, B3, zero thalamina, like vitamin A, like literally they just like enrich their cereals. And you're like,
Hmm.
most Americans will eat a bowl of cereal in the morning, and cereal with like just impregnated with like trace amounts of like vitamins.
Yeah, and they were able to completely solve it. Yeah.
Yeah, like we don't have kids running around with rickets. We don't have kids running around with scurvy and beriberi. Like it's just gone. Like
Hmm.
in our country, like it's just basically gone. That's really cool. And like like oh, is it government outreach to be like, hey, like overreach to be like, yes, every child should not be deficient of vitamins. Here's some vitamins in the cereal. Like you bought the cereal. It says it in the
Uh-huh.
packaging.
Yeah. Like,
It says iron fortified. It says like, iodine in the salt. Like it's not written on the
like it's
thing.
not a secret. Like it's just, I mean,
Yeah, it's not
it's
secret. It's just like here it is, easily achievable. like like here's a dose of vitamins in addition to your breakfast for free.
Mhm.
Like an
Yeah.
aside, like that's a really cool public. And like I mean, they probably had to jump through a lot of hoops to get that to happen, right? Like they had to like basically like, there's probably going to be a lot of lobbying. They had to like talk every cereal company into doing that. Do you know what I mean? They had to do a bunch
Hmm.
of stuff and like make
Yeah.
laws and be like, hey, if you want to distribute using these things, you must put in these vitamins, and who's paying for the vitamins? Like where's the money coming from? Like there was a whole like coordinated effort. Like there's probably huge details that we're missing, but like it definitely happened and we could do it, and we've done it before, and this was before internet.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
could do it.
So you're saying the internet has actually been a net negative on our effect to fight off
I know
disease.
this is Jason's like favorite argument. He was just like, it's
Hmm.
done more harm than good. You're giving voices, and I was just like, well, I like more information. I think
Hmm.
not like a good portion of people just are like, I'm just eating my cereal. Like I don't care. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to be fed. Like
Hmm.
they are not looking carefully at like what's in their cereal.
Hmm.
And that's okay if it's like for the good, right? If
I
it's
mean,
for the good of the
I think that's a
population.
pretty, I mean, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing. It's like, okay, you buy this cereal and like your expectation should just be like the cereal is reasonably healthy. Like you shouldn't have to actually know the functions of all the different like chemicals in it.
Yeah, but
Um,
this comes back to we talked a little bit about, was this last week when we talked about how people are like making food that are like Ozempic resistant. like
mhm.
like you could get foods, so like there's like there's some new drugs on the market that can help you lose weight and basically makes super palatable foods, like foods that taste nice not taste as nice anymore. Or like you don't crave the nice food as much. And so now they're making foods that like will make you still crave it even if you are on these drugs. And I was just like, okay, this is like an arms race in the wrong direction. Like it's like an arms race to unhealth. I'd like to know if you guys are doing that to my food. Do you know what I mean? There's like food that's like, okay, here's like some minerals so you're not deficient. But then there's also like, oh, here's some like additives so that you'll continue to eat my food more and more until you're really obese. No thanks.
yeah, like so
Wh-
there's just this weird. Oh, FFG says, what did they put in the food to make it Ozempic proof?
It is proprietary information. We do not know
Oh,
because these companies
just
are
stuff.
funding it. Yeah. We are. I'm keeping an eye on it because I'd like to
Mm,
know when they start adding
yep.
this to the Doritos or whatever. Okay, no offense to Doritos, just like whatever chips. Like,
Please don't sue us, Dorito
yeah,
Company.
please don't sue us. I
Uh,
love your chips.
uh, but yeah, I think yeah. So there's this like public like like kind of there's this public information problem, but I think also, I mean, I think it's really interesting, like what we're seeing now, because we're seeing these outbreaks of measles and also of bird flu, which is right now is only really spreading effectively in animals, but it's spreading a lot and it's spreading quite worryingly. And we're seeing this weird situation where it's like, okay, we are actually like not doing a very good job of responding to them, arguably a worse job than we have in the past. But also, I think like at a technical level, we did learn a lot of stuff from COVID and just from better technology, and we just have better technology in general. And we actually have a lot of stuff that really could mitigate big outbreaks of disease. I think one of the really interesting ones that we has kind of been around for a while, but it started actually with COVID when we started talking about like airborne disease transmission, was this idea of just like, so there's air filtration, which a lot of places did, but there's also air ultraviolet irradiation, where essentially you put either the air ducts or actually, you just have kind of ultraviolet lights that are positioned above people's head and they shine sideways. So they're not really shooting light into your eyes because ultraviolet light is bad on your eyes, but they are shooting kind of sideways across the room to the other wall high above you. And what this does is it creates basically in every room this big kind of ultraviolet kill zone. So as air circulates into there, any viruses that are in there get inactivated. Anyway, it seems to be actually extremely effective at like preventing transmission of diseases. Like when they've done studies with this in hospitals and other areas, it seems like it can probably eliminate something like 90% of the virus that's in the air, and can essentially it seems like if this was implemented widely, you could actually basically stop the transmission of most infectious diseases.
Oh,
Or most
that's really
airborne
nice.
diseases, I would say.
We
Yeah.
actually like in the lab, like we turn on
Mhm.
UV lights in the hood
Mhm.
to like sterilize our
Yeah.
like the
Mhm.
inside the hood that like suck air in to keep
Mhm.
our cells happy. Um I actually never thought about how it was killing viruses and stuff. Is it just like scrambling the DNA? It's just like
Yep.
zapping
Mhm.
like the
Yep.
crap out of it? Okay. And like this is the same kind of UV that can give us skin cancer because it's
Uh-huh. Yeah.
zapping this our
Yeah.
skin cells. Great, cool, cool, cool.
So the
So,
biggest challenge with this is that basically you need to make sure that people aren't being exposed to the UV, which actually turns out to be quite challenging.
yeah,
There
like
is
sunscreens,
another,
sunscreens
yeah,
and long clothes.
just like have everyone wear sunglasses. But there is another thing, interestingly, that I was reading about, which is air ionization. Um, so it is essentially you get electronic devices and they generate they impart electrical charge onto just all the particles that pass through them in the air. Um, and what that does is it actually causes any sort of particulates to clump together and then to attach to surfaces. And interestingly, like this actually seems to be extremely effective at removing viruses from the air and preventing transmission too. And the really
Like
interesting
static?
thing,
Like, is it
yeah,
using like
exactly. It's
static
basically a
electricity
static
kind of?
cling.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and
I think that's actually how N95s work too. It's actually static as
yep.
well, which is why like the coating on it matters, and you can't really reuse it if you've like wet it or like if you like touched it with your oily hands.
Hmm.
Like it's
Yep.
the pores in the N95s are bigger than the virus particles, but like as the viral particles pass through them, they're kind of statically like pulled to
Attracted.
like yeah, they're
Yeah.
attracted to the mesh and then like they get stuck on it because of yeah, I mean if it works that makes totally makes sense. Yeah, cool. Wait,
Hmm.
how large is an air ionization like machine? Like
Um,
I can't imagine like what it looks like and how large it is. Like is it this
so this is
massive? Oh, you
this
have
is the
one.
one that I have in my kitchen. Um, and as you can see, it's pretty small. So it basically it depends on. Oh, hi, Dutter Butter. It depends on how much air you need to ionize. Like
Got it.
so, the bigger the space, the more air, like the
Yeah.
bigger the
Do you
ionizer you
have an
need. But
idea of how much volume that ionizes like per minute?
um, unfortunately, no, because this is like a cheap one that I bought on the internet, but it's possible to calculate it. And there's been studies essentially showing that you can get a reasonably sized low cost air ionizer and put it in like a classroom, and it actually provides pretty good protection for everyone who's in there.
Yeah, and that's really nice. And some of these designs don't even have to be like fancy like technological. It could really be analog things. Like I remember they were
Mhm.
adding like these like shields that like would deflect the air, like the air conditioning like upwards on the
Mhm.
airplanes. And I was just like, wow, like that would have been really that's really nice.
Uh,
So like you would only get filtered air and then like it would circulate in a pattern so that such that the air would like go out and towards the filters again. And so you would actually just get like one loop, like the air would come
I
down
see.
from
So
above your head.
prevented the air from cross contaminating.
Correct. Yeah. So you only get like the clean air coming out of the vents and you would breathe that. And then when you exhaled, it would be pushed downwards and then it would be pushed out to the sides and up over the like the flap things. And you could like design that. Like, because now that we know, next time someone's designing the interior of an airplane, instead of making it only aesthetically pleasing and, nice seats or whatever, they can additionally design like air path, like respiratory paths for the air to
Yeah.
flow for like heat and air conditioning, but also like so that it could handle like you know cleaning of the air. Like you could just put it through the filter, get it ionized, and then pump back in and circulate air, so you don't have to like you know breathe everyone's lung juices.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think the cool thing about this is like with all these things, like in theory, I feel like these things are cheap enough and we know enough about them that we could like you could deploy these within hours to where you have the outbreak of a suspicious disease and probably stop it in its tracks. I think the other thing is just regular N95 masks. Like I know this is like such a huge controversy, but I think what is I mean what we saw is that you had healthcare workers who are working with people who are like highly infectious like for days on end, and they got sick occasionally but pretty rarely. And so what that you have like a suspicious disease outbreak somewhere, if you just have everyone wear an N95, it would probably stop.
Yeah, N95 splash
Like,
guards, like
yep.
it would
Hmm.
get a lot of it. It wouldn't get all of it, but it would get a
Right.
lot of it.
And you don't have to get all of it. You need to just get it to the point where each infected person infects less than one person.
Yeah, like with PPE, like your R naughts are lower. You can
Uh-huh.
really
Yeah.
reduce the
I
number of
mean,
people.
I feel like people don't really appreciate that that's a thing that we've learned though. Like it's like we could actually like we now have the tools to like end any sort of respiratory outbreak. Like it
That's
is
true.
actually totally feasible.
Yeah, like and people understand like what to do, right? It's just like, hey, like
Mhm.
there's been a blank. Like everyone has masks in their houses now. They could just whip it out
Right.
again.
Yeah.
Like we're prepared for it now, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
Um okay, wait. I think I have some more like cool facts I wanted to
Measles
drop.
facts.
Yeah, measles facts. Because I really wanted to talk about measles because it's just so fascinating for me because it's not scary. So like a lot of times when I talk about diseases, like when we were talking about COVID, like during the
Mhm.
pandemic, I was like we were like genuinely scared. Um, but like measles, like I'm vaccinated, most people around me are vaccinated, like we ain't getting measles. So like I don't have to worry about like I'm genuinely not worried about it, which is like such a relief and not burden. Like it's like I was vaccinated when I was a child. Like My parents gave me the gift of this vaccine. They took me twice. I got jabbed twice. And for the rest of my life, I don't gotta worry about it. So like I'm gonna just sit back and watch the clown show. I do feel bad for these kids who had no choice, right? Like um
Mhm.
okay, but let's talk about some of the cool things, cool historical. I don't know if it's cool. I think this is a little bit sad. So, did you know that before the vaccine was like implemented, there would actually be like a season. So you would have like so you know how like there's like flu season, which is like basically spring until like
Mhm.
it's like winter into spring. There used to be like smallpox season followed by measles season. Like this is like a thing. Like every year you would get measles, smallpox, flu. Like it would just be a thing, and like these two other things besides the flu would come around every year.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and like the two diseases that only have human reservoirs. So well, actually also a third one, polio too. Polio, measles, and smallpox are viruses that are only in humans. Like it can only transmission from human to humans, and they have
Mhm.
mostly super low like changes in their genetics. Like they've been basically really, it hasn't changed. Like it's the same disease like 100 years ago as it is now, which is really different from the flu, which is why flu is a complete different ball game. COVID's a complete different ball game. Measles, polio, and smallpox all are basically the same disease for the majority of human
So
history.
why have they mutated so little?
I don't know. Like that's actually what's
Mhm.
kind of fascinating about it. Like it's followed our human history for so long. Like and I think it didn't mutate because there wasn't pressure to. Like it didn't have like it had plenty to transmit. It's like it had no problem with it. And like
Mhm.
I don't want to give it like a personality, but like diseases just want to exist, right? Like their
Yeah.
goal in life is to replicate and continue. Um
But the interesting thing about measles is that like when you acquire measles to it, the immunity is really long lasting, right? So there should be a lot of evolutionary pressure for it to have to basically change what it looks like so that the immune system can't recognize it anymore.
yeah,
And
it almost feels like it was a disease that should eradicate itself like if you just let it go rampant
Mhm.
through a population. um and actually it kind of was. So like in the western world, like so like Europe, all through Europe basically there's so many it was just so endemic. There was so much measles and smallpox going on all the time, like every year, and they had cycle like everyone got measles and everyone got smallpox or you died. And so
Mhm.
like everyone had it, and so all the people that were left were survivors, so everyone was immune. And so that's probably why they had such a high child death rate, because it was a numbers game, right? And the people were
Mhm.
just used to it. And so every adult person that was walking around was already immune. And so like if you got used to having just like a portion, like a percentage of children, a higher percent of
A
children just,
large proportion. Yeah.
yeah, a large proportion just be like dead, then it's cool. Then yeah, then it'll run through
Mhm.
this population. But like the bad part is when we travel, and we are currently in a very globalized society, right? Like you can just hop on a plane and be on a completely different continent. In the past, you would need to be like on like 4 boats, and like do you know what I mean? It would take like months to go around the world. Now it's like a 15-hour flight. Um, and because of that, when okay so because people travel now, even back then when they met like a virgin soil, like peoples who were not already exposed to measles or smallpox or any of the diseases, they would have a really rough time with it. And a really good example for this and for measles is what happened to the people in Fiji. So basically people in Fiji like never had exposure to any measles before this. One of the chiefs had like went and had a conversation on a boat with someone that had measles in like Australia, and he came back from the boat. He had no symptoms. He probably felt like a little bit of a cold, and that's like the horrible part about it. Like by the time you have any symptoms, you were already infectious for like 5 days previously. So like before you have any symptoms, 5 days before, you were already spreading the diseases,
Mhm.
like spreading it everywhere. And that's true about a lot of viruses. Like before you have symptoms, you're already like you're spreading it everywhere you are. And that's how it survives. But anyway, he met with a bunch of his like chiefs on his island, and then all those chiefs went back to their tribes all over the island. And then like within a year, over a third, no, sorry, over a quarter, like almost a third of the population of Fiji, which is dead, like adults, children, everyone. It was just like 1/3 of the population was gone. And that's what could happen basically when you meet a population of people who are not
That's just naive. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what happens to this disease. Like in the endemic areas, all the children died. And so like you
Mhm.
don't count them because you didn't like you forgot that like, and it wasn't happening all at once, right? Because it was like every generation of children. Like if you look at like a naive, these people that live on an island, and we know exactly how many of those people were there, and they were all not immune, and you give them this disease, like it'll wipe out a third of the population. Like that's insane. That's a horrible disease. Um, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And currently it's still a problem, right? So I talked a little bit earlier about how the MMR vaccine is a live vaccine, so it requires a cold chain. So it basically
Mhm.
needs to be refrigerated, and it doesn't work if it's not refrigerated.
Mhm.
Like it needs to go from a refrigerator into a syringe and like into your muscle or something. And so places that don't have cold chain, it's quite hard to get them,
To
and it's
deliver
really
that
hard.
vaccine.
Yeah, and it's also it comes in 2 doses. Like 1 dose is good enough to be like 90 something percent like good. You need 2 doses to be like 97%. So you if you really want to like stamp it out, you want two doses. And if you need 2 doses and a cold chain, it's hard to do a campaign because you got to like give them the first jab,
It
and then
takes a
like
lot of logistics. Yeah.
yeah, and then like you still got to be there 2 weeks later, and you got to like find the same person and be like, hey, were you this person? Did you get jabbed 2 weeks ago?
Right. Oh, so
Okay,
you
we're
need to
jabbing
like
you again.
be able to keep track of the people too. And
Yeah, and like they got to come again. It's like a whole thing. So it's like anyway, like worldwide, I have some numbers. So in 2017, 90,000 people died of measles, and that comes out to be around 243 children per day, and the numbers actually has gotten worse. So 2017 was about 246 kids a day. Now it's at 259 deaths per day. So that comes out to like 107,000 kids per year. It's kind of bad. Like it's
Mhm.
gotten worse. It's like slowly. Like it's not like oh my god suddenly. It's like nowhere close to the numbers like before the vaccine existed.
Like in the
Um,
1800s or so. Yeah.
yeah,
But
1800s. But measles actually is it's not eradicated, and the
mm,
reason it's not eradicated is because of this cold chain. It's just really hard to track down
it's
all the
just hard to
people.
get the vaccine. Yeah.
Yeah, and because it's so contagious, you need 95%. You really need to hit that benchmark of 95% of the people need to be vaccinated, like 100% or
Mhm.
like 100%. Like if they had vaccinated every person, every Fijian on this island, like there would it would have worked. Like, but you can like even 90% wouldn't have been enough. Like you would still get an outbreak, just because of how very like contagious it was.
I
Um,
was actually I was looking up why the measles hasn't mutated like to be able to evade immunity. And it turns out there's an interesting answer to this, which is like that if you mutate any of the proteins that we form antibodies to, the virus can no longer enter cells. So essentially, it just kind of is in an evolutionary like this weird dead end where like it's extremely good at entering cells, but if anything changes, then it can't anymore. I'll
yeah.
put this in the chat.
Ah, that's
Um,
cool. That's
yeah,
really cool. Oh, we should always end with positive things.
yeah.
So,
Oh, also, Deader Butter says I cannot stop staring at Ruby's ceiling.
oh,
Um,
the wave ceiling. It's actually a curtain, and it covers that window, that beautiful window that shows, um, like the outside of MIT. Okay, I kind of want to talk about positive things because
yeah,
actually today was a fairly positive stream
it
for
was. Yeah.
so okay, so I wanted to talk about things that we have done in the past that have been really successful, and I think it's like our crowning achievement as humans on this planet is actually successfully eradicating smallpox. So that happens in the 80s, I think, right? 1980 was like the last time. Yeah, 1980s. We like I think in like Panama or Paraguay was like the last time there was ever someone with smallpox. And like the WHO was like, we have successfully eradicated all of smallpox ever on this planet. And so currently the only smallpox that exists is in like some freezers in labs, and like
Uh-huh.
some vaccine. Like I think a lot.
We don't actually know exactly which freezers or which labs, but
I think on purpose. And I think most.
yeah, no, not on purpose. So in the lab where Ruby and I were working, actually my first week there, we got asked to check the lab for smallpox um because someone had just like found smallpox in a storage closet thing.
And then like
So
negative
yeah,
80 at
it's
some
in
point.
some labs. Not totally sure which labs. Like it's around, but
Yeah.
luckily it's not infecting people.
Yeah, it's not infecting anyone right now, and most countries have a small stock of the vaccines sitting around just in case. Yeah, I feel like it's just like a little every so often there's like kind of like a nuclear weapons talk where they're like, should we get rid of our stores? Because like it could cause something real bad if we accidentally
Of
let
the
this out.
smallpox itself, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like a nuclear weapon, but like I think it's like a human. All the humans are like, let's not do it. Like, no biowarfare. Let's like hang on. let's
Hmm.
let's be safe with that. But it's like our current crowning achievement, and then we have some like close second places. So polio also had a really aggressive vaccination campaign. And actually the entire Americas, became the first region to be certified polio free, and that was like in 1994. So like most of us just have never met anyone that had polio. Like we've never seen anyone in those like breathing chambers or like uh the iron lungs or anything. It's just like stories of the past. So like it feels like a historical disease.
Hmm.
There's a couple cases that pop up every year, so it's not completely stamped out. Another really cool one that has been stamped out that I really enjoyed talking about is actually guinea worm, which is almost completely stamped out, and actually really has to do. It's like this horrible parasite that has like a life cycle that like they go into these crustaceans that we then consume by either eating fish that eat the crustaceans or drinking water that has the crustaceans in it, and then they like live in your body for a while, and then they like cause this like horrible burning sensation, and then they come out of your feet, and then like because your feet are burning you want to like put your feet back in the water, and in the water the larvae come
Oh
out, like
wow.
they like burst out of your skin and your feet, and it's really bad. It's like a disease that's like in the Bible, like it's like described in the Old Testament, and it's like a horrible disease. We are so close to eradicating it, and this one they didn't eradicate it with like vaccines or anything. It is literally a bottom up approach. They basically just taught people how to like keep their water clean, and like if you were infected with it, like not to recontaminate the rivers with the larvae of these parasites. They would like, hey, like use water separately in like a bowl and like take care of the worm slowly. Like basically you can like you don't die from it. It's just a horrible disease, and it's like almost all gone. And like people changed that, they added like mesh cloths to the water supply in like most houses that take water from these water sources. It's great. It's such a, like a bottom up, like it's like a lovely story, like where humans are like, we're gonna get rid of this horrible disease. It has like a horrible, it's called like Dracona. Hold on, there's like a Latin name. Guinea worm.
Oh yeah, I was reading. Yeah, this seems pretty
Yeah, it's Draconis medininus. Yeah, it's not great. But it's like one of those diseases I learned when I was in college about like in zoology class. It was like, here's one of the other, horrible parasites that we exist. We also don't have hookworm anymore in the United States. Like we can like not wear shoes and walk on grass and not worry about parasites going into the follicles of our toes. Like
that's
like there's
good.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Like this is, these are all things that we as humans have like solved.
Uh-huh.
And it's so exciting to see it happen, and like we should celebrate it and not forget that those things happened.
Yep.
And finally, I think this is a really cool new one, is that did you guys know that the HPV vaccine is not just for girls? Like I don't think even I knew that. I have the HPV vaccine. I got it in like late elementary school, early high school,
Hmm.
sometime around then. I got HPV vaccine, and I remember they were just giving it to girls, and they're like, yeah, if you get this, you won't get cervical cancer. And I was just like, wait, we have a silver bullet for cancer. It's like if I have this, I probably won't get cancer. And then more recently, I was reading about the HPV vaccine, and apparently, I am also now protected from most anal cancers too. And I was just like,
Mhm.
wait, should this vaccine also work for dudes? Because it
Yeah.
helps with the anal cancer. It's for anyone with an anus, right? And
Yeah.
so, lo and behold, it actually is.
It also prevents penile cancer, and it also just prevents a lot of the like genital warts that are associated with HPV too, because if you get it, you're just much less likely to get infected with those strains of HPV. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
not just a sexually transmitted disease. Like you can get it just from
Mhm,
touching things or being in the shower, on the floor. Like there's like fomites. Like you can get it
mhm.
anywhere. Um, yeah. Um,
Although I think the strains that the vaccine is against is like usually the sexually transmitted ones, right? Like there's
I think
the
so. Yeah.
ones that infect like, so this is the same virus that causes like plantar warts actually, but it's a different strain of the virus that infects your feet. Um,
That's true. But like I will most likely not die. I could die of a lot of things, but I will not be anal cancer.
yeah,
Which
which
is
is
kind of
nice.
cool. It's like, don't
Yeah,
you want that? It's like, congratulations, you will not die of
yeah.
anal cancer.
I
If
will say, like, yeah, one of the things that we were talking about is that, like, if you're not a teenage girl, it is like still like, even though it seems like it's pretty medically clear that it's a good idea to get this vaccine, it's something that like a lot of doctors and insurers don't necessarily like push for. So like it's a thing that like you like it's actually just worth saying like yes, I definitely want to get this.
Yeah,
um
like if no, because I think this is also like one of like I don't want to blame doctors, but I feel like they're not hot selling it enough because they're kind of just like
mhm,
you're doing your physical like when you're in your teenagers or whatever, so you can like play sports, and then they'll just be like at the end it's like, do you want this vaccine? And they're like, you need to come back in 2 weeks, and every teenager's gonna be like, I just finished this physical, you want me to get shot now and then give me another shot in 2 weeks? Fuck that, like no thanks. Like they gotta be like, yo, this is awesome. Like you gotta do this before you have sex so that you don't get
yeah,
and it only works if you're not exposed yet, right? Like once you've been exposed
yeah,
and there's like no reason that it doesn't work anymore. So like
mhm,
that's why they give it to you when you are like a preteen. Like they're
yeah,
like, oh, you're
although
not
that
going to be
is,
sexually active, and I was like, that's the point. The point is we need to get you before you're sexually active.
yeah, I will say like so my personal frustrations, I've been trying to get this vaccine for like 10 years. So like when I was like 24, I was like, yeah, I should probably get this vaccine. And they're like, oh, we don't do it for men, but they might change the guidelines in a few years. And then they did change the guidelines, but then they're like, oh, we don't do it in people who are over 26. So like you can't. And it turns out like most of these are like pretty stupid restrictions. Like we now know that there's a lot of people who are male and over 26. Like there is some there is benefit to it. It's because not everyone is exposed to these strains of HPV. Probably fewer people are exposed now. Like the more people who get the vaccine, the less likely you will be to be exposed to HPV naturally too.
Yeah, this is definitely like some of those logistical things I was talking about. It's probably like the insurance
Mhm.
companies will pay for it if you're in this range and it's actually, do you know what I mean? Like the study was done
Yeah.
on this population and it's preventative for cervical cancer. So therefore, just the people that have cervixes will be getting this
Hmm.
this vaccine. So like I was targeted, right? Um
Great.
and then like at that same time like Nathan was like you don't have a cervix, but they're like there are studies about how it helps with anal cancers, but it wasn't the priority. Like that was not the population that they tested it with. Like they tested it in
Right.
like women, and so they were like, okay, yeah, like the women definitely.
But it is
And
kind
then
of silly. It's like it's not like it's good for these other populations to get HPV. Like,
yeah, yeah, it's not because like, I mean, like it's still getting passed like males to females. Like, do you know what I mean? It's still getting
yeah,
passed between different people. It doesn't
and
matter.
like
Like,
it causes cancer in the men. Like it's
yeah, it does.
yeah,
It's not great. But anyway, so next time you're getting your physical and your doctor offers it, or you could request it, be like, hey, can I have that really cool, super cool vaccine that y'all discovered and totally works, and someone got a Nobel Prize for it, and also like it prevents cancer for sure. Can I please get that, please? Thank you.
yeah.
Please do that. I
It really
but
does want to be need to be marketed better. Like I feel like for like men my age, there's like 12 dozen companies trying to sell us like testosterone shots, but like no one is like
yeah, I think
you should
I
get this
do think it's a
HPV vaccine.
tradition for vaccines not to be like making money. Like I think it started
Mhm.
with like Salk and Jenner, like these people that like discovered the vaccines. Like famously, Salk was just like giving it to for free. You know, he was like, "We're solving polio. Like here you
Mhm.
go, good luck, vaccinate all the kids." Like Jenner was doing it for free. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah. Mhm.
like the altruistic part of it also doesn't make it sound sexy and cool.
True.
It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, that's what you were saying before is we should charge people more money for the vaccines and then they would
Yeah,
want them more, right?
or just like put it in like a slick box or you get a I voted sticker or something. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you
Yeah.
need like a I'm vaccinated sticker or something. I think that or like a social media cred or something. I don't know. I don't know how to make it like more popular and cool. I think it's really cool that I will never get anal cancer or cervical cancer. It sounds great. Like thanks. Thanks
Like you're
society.
like that is reward enough.
Yeah, for me it is, but I don't think people are
Yes.
thinking about it that way.
No,
Do
no,
you know what I mean?
stop there. We should end it on a positive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And with that, thank you for joining us. We're Philosophising, and we'll be back for some more next week, same time.